Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, the podcast, your favorite, I hope, MLB The Show podcast that comes out every single Tuesday on Apple, Spotify, which I found out is where a lot of people prefer podcasts. I'm an Apple guy myself, whatever, or YouTube, or or if you're real specific, you can find it on SoundCloud. But thank you guys for being here for another week. If you're coming from YouTube, you're one of two things. A loyal listener slash watcher. So thank you very much for being one or both of those things. Or you are intrigued by the combination of the headline or title and thumbnail. We're going to talk about captains and the future today. Because I think SDS has... I don't want to say they've opened the door to fixing slash creating something interesting. But I've put pieces together in my head that can make captains and content more entertaining next year. Just my theory. So, without further ado, we're going to begin talking about it. I want you guys to chime in at any point if you have thoughts. Leave it in the comments down below. If you like what I'm saying, if you think what I'm saying is close but is maybe missing something, I'm open to be critiqued. I'm open to furthering the discussion. Speaking of further discussion, join the Discord. Link is in the description down below. We talk about all sorts of stuff all the time, every day there. So, let us, where's the button? There it is. Okay, so, as you can see on my screen, I am in the inventory sorting by captains. This includes every single captain except one very critical one, who is actually the basis of really this entire conversation. So, this includes everybody but Freddy Freeman. The 99 overall World Series MVP sends a shiver down my Yankee fan spine. Freddy Freeman. SDS decided to have some fun at the back half of the game cycle, which I appreciate. And they said, you know what? We've dropped so many really, really fun, legitimately, and I give them credit for this, really, really fun postseason cards. Let's create a fun captain to zhuzh them up even more. But that they didn't do that, because Freddie Freeman's not a captain card. He's a postseason card that they just gave captain abilities to. So that tells me two things. Tells me, number one, first of all, you don't have to be a captain card within their coding structure to receive captain capabilities. That's kind of cool. That's kind of neat. That opens the door for a lot of stuff. Being serious here. And number two, they're willing to take a chance on something new. What are the benefits, first of all, of making 99 overall Freddie Freeman a captain? Number one, as I said, it boosts the postseason content that was already strong. Number two, and the biggest benefit, you don't have to settle for using a worse Freddie Freeman just because he's a captain to use Freddie Freeman. That Freddie Freeman card's incredible. It's an endgame first baseman. And if you want to use a captain boost with all those other endgame cards, excuse me, they smacked it on Freddie Freeman. That's a big deal. One of the chief complaints of captain cards, since they've been around, is that why should I use... actually, this is probably a good example. 95 David Ortiz with bad platoon stats or attributes and some other not nice things, when I could be using his 99. This 95 David Ortiz, his captain boost is for 2000s hitters. Honestly, a really good boost. Plus 15 contact right and power right. Plus 10 contact left. And plus 15 batting clutch if you use 11 hitters from the years 2000 to 2009. This is a really good captain card. If I'm being honest, it's a really good captain card. But this David Ortiz leaves something to be desired. The way that SDS thunk up captains, and I see their line of thinking here, I truly, honestly, 100% do, is that there needs to be a drawback somewhere for creating an uber mega god squad in some fashion. So what they did was, if you want to have a team of a bunch of 99s from the 2000s, and you want to boost them to the gills even further, you at least have to settle for a few innings of using 95 David Ortiz. And, again, that is a pretty reasonable request. But the problem becomes And this is why David Ortiz might not have been an incredible example, because he didn't get like an uber juicy card this year. But when like his 99 drops, or let's find somebody. Kershaw is a decent example because he just got a sick, crazy, nasty, lovely card. O'Neal Cruz ain't a bad example. Derek Jeter's a pretty good example. Any of these guys, I mean, you guys know. Giancarlo Stanton. Let's use this one. This is an extreme case. Not a lot of people use this captain anyway. You'd use 11 hitters from the years 2010 to 2019 for a plus 15 power right, plus 15 power left, plus 10 batting clutch. But this Giancarlo card is abysmal. Whereas the 99 Giancarlo, and granted, this is an 88 overall. I understand. But granted, the Giancarlo 99 that came out for the postseason, or the Giancarlo 99 that was in the action figure series, is nuts. So, here is my proposition to fix captains and aid in the betterment of content moving forward. You're going to have to walk with me here, talk with me here, understand what I'm saying before we jump into it. I am operating under the assumption, / hope, because I honestly have no idea, that sets and seasons will be abolished. I don't want to be giving false hope to people. I have not heard this. I am just reading the tea leaves here and hoping SDS sees the feedback, which I've been told they do. If sets and seasons are removed from the game, this is the way, Mandalorian, to make team affinity better, make power creep more enticing, and make captains not only usable and not only meta, but common in online team builds. Here we go. So, I'm looking at team affinity now, again, from a sets and seasons structure. But this year, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold on, 7, 8 team affinities so far. The next team affinity is dropping on November 22nd, I believe is the date. What if? Hear me out. The very first team affinity drops on day 1 of MLB The Show 25. Let's say, because the power creep is back, in my perfect world, these cards are 85 overalls. Make us use some golds for a little bit. And, max us out at 85. That's my theory. Have some fun with some different types of cards and swings. Let's say they're 85s. Every team affinity card should be a captain for the team they are representing in the team affinity. Tie the two things together. I have long believed the problem with captains is not the captain boost. It's the captain series. It pigeonholes people into using a lesser version of the player they might want to use. Just like we talked about before. If you're committed to team affinity, which I know some people are not. I know some people don't like team affinity because it leads to repeat cards. And that is probably still true. We need more legends. No matter which way you change the content up, we need more legends in the game pronto. Theoretically, removing sets and seasons kind of aids in that. Maybe. So, every team affinity, they're the captain. And in theory, at that point in the game, they will be some of the best cards available in the game, because they will be the latest team affinity. They will be the indicator that the power creep is rising, because in the power creep format, team affinity should serve as that. It's another reason team affinity cards, a lot of times this year and last year, haven't been very good, because they have not scaled appropriately with the content that's out within the set and season. It's been very strange. So, you now have 30 new captains, effectively called. They're not actually captain cards. They could still be 2011 veteran Evan Longoria, but he would have an extra tab like Freddy Freeman does that has captain abilities. You have the Team Affinity cards that are captains. They boost the individual teams. And then halfway between the drop of one Team Affinity and the release of the next one, I don't know what the cadence would be. That's for them to figure out, not I. You drop, sorry if you guys just heard / felt my phone vibrate. You drop some sort of pack or some sort of program, preferably a program, because we're not pro-pack, we're pro-program. We know how it's going to end up being, of course, because sometimes things need to be a cash grab. That includes cards that are, say, if 85 is our first starting point for Team Affinity, these cards are like 87s. And they're more captain. And they're also like All-Star Series or Breakout Series or whatever. But they're 87s to signify the power creep is moving a little bit. And they are not team-specific captains. They are, and I hate to say this, like your switch hitting captain, your Dominican captain, your 2000s captain. That's where we could start integrating some of those more fun boosts so we're not just building theme teams all year long. I just think this is the best way to make theme teams viable as the power creep is going on. Theoretically, that would also mean that early on in the year, you need to make the captain requirements less because there will be fewer fantastic cards per team. So if the first Team Affinity, as we said, starts at 85s, I would expect Tier 3 captain, instead of, I just went like there was captain capabilities on the card. Instead of being 11 cards for Tier 3, it would be like 6. Again, encouraging people and making captains accessible. I think this is a super coolio idea. Because let's say, again, using, you know what, let's not use Evan Longoria again. Why not? Let's spread the love. Let's use a Brewer. Ryan Braun is a bad example because he's a 99. Let's say this was an 89 Ryan Braun. Brewers captain. If he was a Team Affinity captain early on in the game, you would not see a new version of him until like a couple months later. This way, theoretically speaking, there is no reason to have to make the choice between Captain Ryan Braun and higher rated Ryan Braun. Because in between those drops, there would be another Brewers Team Affinity captain, like a Willy Adames, who fulfills his position. And now that other Ryan Braun is now obsolete because Willy Adames is your Brewers captain. And you can use 99 Ryan Braun willy-nilly. Am I making sense? I make sense in my own head to myself a lot. I just want to make sure I'm making sense to the public. Because I truly think this is a decent idea. What does it require? A lot of planning. Like, almost full calendar year planning ahead of time. To make sure it's paced appropriately, to make sure you're not releasing too many of the same guy. Listen, the beauty of the power creep coming back, and I was optimistic about sets and seasons when it first dropped. I did a tip of the cap respect for trying something new. I just think we've shown or experienced why it doesn't work in this game's setting. The beauty of the power creep is that at different points of the year, if my favorite player is Ryan Braun, I can experience the joy of using an 84 of Ryan Braun, an 87 of Ryan Braun, a 93 of Ryan Braun, and then like a 97 and a 99. If the content is paced appropriately, I can use him all year, on par with other cards in the game. I can experience the progression, called an evolution, because they use that term sometimes. And it feels like I'm getting better. It feels like as Ryan Braun's cards get better, my team gets better. Throw in the cadence of releasing captains in that mix, and I think we're on to something here. I think the captain series is the problem, not the captain ability. Team Affinity is so team-focused, it's literally in the title. Why aren't we combining captains, which are fundamentally a team-centric thing, into the giant monthly drop that is already team-centric? I just used monthly. It might not be. Whatever the cadence is. In my opinion, it makes too much sense. all of this gets, or all of the redundancies of Team Affinity get alleviated with more legends in the game. Take the NL Central, for example. This is actually a great example. Ryan Braun, Ralph Kiner, and Johnny Bench, arguably even Ryan Sandberg, are very often the legends for their teams in Team Affinity. Why? These teams don't have enough representation. At least in my opinion. Fans of these same teams might feel the same. And there are plenty of other teams that fall into that bucket. It's not just exclusively those. So yeah, we need more legends. It can't just only be Ryan Braun and Robin Yount captains for the Brewers. That would be a fundamental problem and hurt a lot of what I'm talking about. In the absolute best case scenario, like the best case scenario, a team like the Yankees will never have overlap in the captains they give out. Probably. Because not only of the players that they have the legend rights to, Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Derek Jeter, keep going. I've said this before in other legend themed episodes. Big market teams, Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Dodgers, Cardinals are like mid-adjacent. Several others, they spend money in free agency, so there's a lot of players swapping uniforms. So sometimes SDS will add a legend that also played a season in New York and he fits the theme. So that's why it also seems like the Yankees have so many legends. Andrew McCutchen is a pretty decent example of that. But what I'm getting at here, I almost sidetracked myself, is that this prevents overlap, and by the time a 99 of your favorite card comes out, let's say it's, I don't know, who is your favorite player? Let's say a 99 of James McCann comes out. It's a terrible example. A 99 of Justin Morneau. He's fun. If he's the Team Affinity 99, he'll be a captain card. In theory, because it's the power creep and we won't have duplicate 99s other than extenuating circumstances, this will be not only the best version of Justin Morneau you're going to get, but also the captain version of Justin Morneau you're going to get. So you'll get every ability to use him to your leisure. You want to use Justin Morneau and there's like 4 other Twins on your team? You could just casually activate the Tier 1 boost. It just makes so much sense to make captains actually, like, woven into the fabric of play in Diamond Dynasty. Does it create more variety? Maybe. Kind of won't know until you try. Because there are always going to be certain players that are used more than others. Just because of their swings, their popularity. Like, a Francisco Lindor captain, a 99 overall Francisco Lindor captain, is always going to get more, or almost always going to get more usage, even if you're not a Mets fan, than Justin Morneau. Because he's a fan favorite swing, he's a switch hitter. So you might have some people who are not fans of the Mets using Mets teams. Or maybe you use him for another captain boost, if he's a switch hitting captain, if he's a shortstop captain, if he's, what have you. I just think this makes a lot of sense. In my stupid little head. So, I'm not going to ramble anymore. This is going to end up being an episode certainly on the shorter end of episodes we made. But I want to leave space here for you guys to tell me what you think of this idea in the comments. Does this interest you? Is there potential here? I know a lot of people in the 10-minute mailbag yesterday talked about how what SDS has done in the back half of MLB The Show 24 has not necessarily enticed them to buy 25. Like, they don't think anything's going to be different. Well, if SDS came out and said this was happening, would this be enough to get you interested? Is this something where you're like, ooh, I kind of like how they've woven captains into team building and my favorite players and the long-term strategy of how they're dropping content? Because if they do it the right way, I think it has a lot of potential. A lot of potential. So that's gonna do it from me. I gotta go record a video for tomorrow or Wednesday. Tomorrow. That's the day. So let me know what you think. That's the most important thing. Comment down below. This channel cannot exist without your comments because it gives me ideas for future stuff and the like. So thank you guys for making it to the end. I love you all. I hope the Yankees sign Juan Soto. See you next time.